Hi, so I'm Mr. Cramp. I'm Head of Economics and Politics, and I've been teaching here at the school for 26 years now. So there's obviously something special about the school, and there's something special about my subjects as well. Now, in terms of economics, one of the things that I love in teaching economics is the logical methodology of the subject. So, for example, when we're studying consumer behaviour, we look at consumers with a limited income and how they're going to spend that limited income to generate the most possible utility from consumption. But it's not just a subject with a logical method. It's also a subject which is applied in the real world, all around us. So everywhere I go, I see economics in action. And that's one of the great beauties of studying the subject. Give an example of that, I've got a keen interest in the pub industry on Mapley Top, just near here, and some of you may know that. In Mapley we've actually got not one, not two, but 3 pubs next door to one another. You might think, why would you have 3 pubs next door to one another? Are they not just going to compete with one another and take business away from each other? Well, actually, as an economist, I know there is a good reason for that. And it's called external economies of scale. Cost savings that you get when an industry grows. And when the pub industry in Mapley grows, that means that it becomes easier for all the pubs to attract customers into their venue. Essentially, Mapley itself becomes a venue for a night out, and you're going to get people going from one pub to another. And that really saves on the marketing costs for all of the pubs involved. While I was in the Wetherspoons a couple of years ago there, I saw a price display board where Wetherspoons were comparing their prices to the pubs next door. So obviously, although there was a benefit to them all being alongside one another, they were still competing. And I've got a photo of the display board that I use as a starter in one of my lessons, where we look for as many reasons as we can why prices in Wetherspoons are actually so much cheaper than the 2 pubs next door. So Wetherspoons' economies of scale from being such a large business, for example, the fact that the 2 pubs next door are quite different from Wetherspoons. They sell different experiences in terms of one being a family pub, one specialising in real ales and so on. And that actually means that they can charge a bit of a price premium on their products compared to Wetherspoons and still attract customers into their venue. So as I go around the world, I see economics, and that's what I encourage in my students as well. Recently we've been hugely interested, as you might imagine, in the impact of the coronavirus. And the coronavirus is something that really takes us into the field of macroeconomics. So when I was talking about the pub industry in Mapley, that's micro, that's looking at a particular market which is part of the overall economy. But coronavirus is probably having its biggest impact when you look at the economy aggregated as a whole. So just during the month of April 2020, for instance, gross domestic product, the output of the economy, fell by 20% in just a single month. Okay. Now the way I look at that is to think of the economy as being like a balloon. Okay, and 20% of the air came out of a balloon in just that 1 month. And since then, we've begun to reinflate that balloon a little, but it's still nowhere near as big yet as it was back in April. And then we get questions like, could that balloon ever be as big? Because when people have become unemployed, they will have perhaps lost some of the skills they used to have because they're not practicing using them. And that might mean that even as we pump in the air, the demand into the economy, the capacity of the economy, the size of a balloon, might not be able to take so much air anymore. It's what's been called scarring of the economy, if you've been following the economics in the news at all, which, by the way, is a really important part of studying economics, alongside learning the theory. So for us, we're here to teach you a toolkit of economist concepts that you can use to understand what's going on out there in the real world. Okay, so what do you get when you come and study with us? The first thing you get is 4 subject specialists. So alongside myself, we have Mrs. Wicks, we have Mr. Pratton, and we have Mr. Green. And we share many things. One of the things we share is a love of the subject. We also share a huge amount of experience. We're pretty much the same age as one another. Interestingly, we only have 2 birthdays between the 4 of us, although that may not be strictly relevant at this point in time. But the experience definitely is. Okay, so you're getting 4 teachers who know their subject inside out. What you're also getting with 2 of us, myself and Mr. Pratton, are teachers who are highly experienced in working for the AQA exam board. We mark exam papers in the summer, and that means that we know exactly what to look out for, exactly how to train you in answering exam questions, and the results that follow on from that are, as you might imagine, pretty outstanding. Okay, so in the average year we get about 30% A-star grades in economics, and other statistics worthy of mention here: of all the girls who have ever studied economics in our department, we have an 85% A-star A rate from those students. And really this follows on from having teachers who know exactly what they're doing, who love the subject and want to share that love of the subject with you, the students. Okay. And then if you look back at some of our past students, then that gives you even more reason to think about what's going on in the department. For instance, in 2018, 2 of my former students came 1st and 3rd in the economics finals at Cambridge, and in their final year they were supervised for their dissertation by another one of our former students who was doing his PhD at Cambridge at the same time. And if you look at our past students, it's not just those who go on to achieve high-level success at Oxbridge. We've got past students who have achieved success in the world of business. So I was chatting to one of them the other day, Aidan, who got what I believe was the 3rd highest ever offer on Dragon's Den with his firm, Main Stage Travel, a few years ago. Another one of our former students, Aaron Maney, is Mr. Who's the Boss on YouTube, with now over 3 million followers for his technology reviews. So our students go on to do all sorts of things with the platform that they've learnt in the subject and in the department. Some of them even go on to become economics teachers, and I'm pretty sure we can agree there is no higher calling than that to be had in the world. I enjoy teaching all aspects of economics, but probably for me the aspect that I enjoy teaching most is microeconomics. This is my real sort of specialism area. Other teachers in the department have got other specialisms, but microeconomics is my thing. I particularly enjoy the Year 13 micro course, because by that point the economic theory is ramped up to a higher level than in Year 12, and we get the chance to apply that theory, of course, to all sorts of interesting real-world situations. So I've got a few favourite lessons in mind in the Year 13 course. I love the cola taste tests, which we introduced the subject of monopoly power with. So we look at the different colas on the market and how Coca-Cola and Pepsi have managed to differentiate their colas from the other colas, and how that leads to what we call a degree of price-making power, because demand for their product is less sensitive. If they put their price up, customers stay with them because of brand loyalty, and that gives them the opportunity to charge us more than other cola companies on the market may do. I also love the hunting with aliens game, which we use to illustrate resource depletion. Basically involves lots and lots of minstrels being consumed, and many of them being consumed by me, which is always a good thing. But allied, of course, to a good dose of economic theory, when we look at how the dominant strategy for each person is to make free use of environmental resources, but how collectively that can lead to tragedy. And we link that back to an economic theory called Tragedy of the Commons, to understand how our environmental resources get depleted. I've got another lesson where I use a video of Noddy, to explain the workings of markets. And as you can see, these are the sorts of things that entertain me and the sorts of things that lead me to the love of the subject, because you can combine things like that with real, grounded, rational, logical economic theory and make so much sense of what's going on out there in the world. Okay, so those are a few of my favourite lessons. Beyond lessons, there is so much support available to you as a student body within the department. I like to think very much that our department is one of the best known departments in terms of the degree of support that we offer our students. To give a few examples, we have a HIT session on a lunchtime during year 13. Every fortnight, as we go through the year, they become more frequent, so they happen every week or so. So HIT is high intensity interval training. And we spend just 20 minutes during a lunchtime where we go through a year 12 concept in double quick time, but just giving you the basics that you need to understand that concept more fully. So reviewing the material that we covered in year 12. We have Oxbridge support sessions. So this term, one day a week during lunchtime or sometimes after school, I'm helping my students who are preparing for their Oxbridge interviews coming up in a few weeks' time. And that's something that I really enjoy doing. I'm pushing the students beyond the sort of normal intellectual boundaries of the classroom. And again, it's something that produces results. So we've had the last 3 years, every single year, we've had one student who's been taken onto the highly prestigious PPE course at Oxford. And we've had many other successful Oxbridge applications as well. As the year goes on, we introduce more revision classes after lessons. So from January onwards, there's one day a week where you can stay behind after school to do a revision session. As by then we're really ramping things up towards the exams which you're going to take in the summer. And again, I know these things work because my past students keep in touch and they tell me how useful those things were to them when they were here in the classrooms that I hope you're going to be in from September onwards. One of my classes of former students actually brought me a crystal ball in acknowledgement of my apparent sort of prophetic ability to predict exam questions. And I'll let you into a secret here. It isn't actually a special power. All you have to do is to look back at what's been on the papers over the last few years and start spotting patterns. So I've already got a hunch for this coming summer that a topic called oligopoly is highly likely to be on the exam paper. So if you're watching this video, check back in the summer, have a look at the exam paper, see if oligopoly was on there or not. I really very much hope that I'm right about that. Why am I telling you this story? Because I think it says something about the attention to detail of the way we work in the department and the way we teach you. We don't leave any stone left unturned if we think that we can turn it over and use it to find ways of helping you to get the outcomes that you want at the end. And it's no surprise when you get that attention to detail, but it shows in fantastic outcomes as well. Now, I do need to say a little word of warning at this point, which is about maths. People have always got this question about whether they need to study A-level maths in order to study A-level economics. Now, thankfully, because it's going to help keep me in a job, I hope the short answer to that is no, you don't have to study A-level maths in order to study A-level economics. If you've got a 6 or a 7 in GCSE maths, that will be quite adequate for the sorts of maths that you come across in A-level economics. However, I also need to say that there's a chance that when you come to study with us, you may fall in love with the subject. You may want to take it on further. And if you do actually need A-level maths in order to study economics at degree level at the vast majority of universities. And for some, they even would regard further maths as being a distinct advantage. So if you were wanting to read economics at Oxbridge, for example, then I'd recommend maths and further maths alongside your economics in the sixth form. For most people though, a GCSE in maths will be sufficient for the economics that you're going to learn in the sixth form. What you will find though is that all sorts of people thrive in economics. I'm absolutely certain that mathematicians will thrive in economics, but we've got a track record in the department of developing people who study economics with all sorts of different subjects. Economics as a discipline fits with most subjects that you might wish to study in combination with it. And it's not just that our students study a wide variety of subjects with us, it's also that we achieve success with all sorts of different students, from those who've got an aspiration for an A star to those whose more realistic goal might be actually, I'm not going to be content with a C grade, I want to get back up to a B grade or even an A. And looking back through time, you can see that in economics that's something we achieve over and over again, helping students to get to exactly where they want to be in terms of their exam performance. So studying economics at Nottingham High School is a really special thing. What makes it different? Well, you're going to get 4 subject specialists working with you throughout, who are going to teach you the subject in a depth which is pretty unusual, I think. Often in schools you'll find that the economics teacher perhaps has other interests, other subjects that they teach as well as economics, but economics may not be their first discipline. But all 4 teachers within our economics department, economics and indeed politics are our things. This is our specialism. The depth we go into with the theory, I think I would go as far as saying it has a national reputation. So I was contacted recently by one of my students who wanted me to appear on an internet discussion panel. And I said, well, okay, I'm a little bit edgy about doing this. What other guests do you get on your discussion panels? And the previous week it had George Bush's special economics advisor on the panel. Appearing alongside me, he had a party political leader from New Zealand. And I said to him, are you really sure that you want a humble, ordinary economics teacher from Nottingham to appear on your panel? And he said, well, sir, me and my school friends, we're all in agreement that what goes on in Nottingham High School's economics department is far from the ordinary. There's something special about the depth of understanding that the teachers have and that the students have by the time they're finished. And what a lovely thing that was. But I'd like to think that there is more than a degree of truth in that. And it's that knowledge, that expertise that we want to share with you. If you're going to be interested in the subject, if you're going to love the subject, then we're going to love teaching you. And in the end, that really should be a key driver of your A-level choices. You're looking for a combination of a subject you're going to love with a subject that you're going to thrive in. And if you can bring those 2 things together, how wonderful is that going to be? What should you do next? Well, what I'd like you to do is come to a taster lesson. Economics is a new subject to you. It's one you've not had the chance to study in the school before. So it would make an awful lot of sense to come along and see it in action. Come and talk to us. So our classrooms are located right next to the sixth form centre on the top floor, and our office is next door to the large lecture theatre. Just come and have a chat. If you've got any questions, more you want to find out, then come and have a word with us. Probably the biggest thing that I'd recommend doing is talking to our current and former students. If you know anyone who's studied economics with us, have a chat with them. Find out what their experience has been and use that to help inform your decision. So we'd love to teach you. We're hoping to get that chance very soon, and I look forward to seeing you in September.
What I enjoy studying most about economics is how applicable it is to everyday life and the economy. So we learn in macro about monetary policy and how this was used a lot in the COVID situation to try to help with the economy and stimulating it and make sure we don't enter too bad of a recession. The best lesson in the A-level course so far was actually early on in year 12, in which we learned about the law of diminishing marginal utility, because our teacher brought us lots of brownies, and although it's lots of fun and games, it's actually a very useful way of explaining to us how this works, and it's a very key idea in economics. What surprised me the most about studying economics is how interconnected it is. It's in both micro and macro, every topic links to one another, and it makes revising for it especially easy because no matter what you're doing, it's able to link into everything else and just make it a bigger picture much easier to see. The economics teachers are super helpful, so whenever I have questions about essays, what we're learning, whether it's whatever time, if it's an email, break time, during the lesson even, they'll sit down with me, go through it, make sure I understand whatever it be it economics or something even higher level than that. A typical lesson will normally consist of us working through a booklet. There'll be PowerPoint presentations and discussions. I really like the booklet method because it makes your notes a lot more organised. There's a numbering system in the top left corner, and every topic will have a separate number and they're all ordered based on specification. The homework we receive can vary from multiple choice questions, short answers such as like 4 and 9 markers, and then you've got the longer essays like 25. And although it varies, in some weeks we'll get essays, other weeks we'll get multiple choice, you never have multiple essays, and especially the longer ones at 25 markers in for the same week, so it's never a huge amount, so it's always very manageable. Once I leave Nottingham High School, I'm intending to study PPE, so politics, philosophy and economics. I think politics and economics are so closely intertwined, and the philosophy really allowed me to focus on the ethical side of it. The advice I would give to someone who's about to study economics is the news. Because economics is very theoretical and sometimes be a little bit overbearing, so it's very useful to try to apply it to everyday scenarios as much as possible, and it makes understanding the concepts a whole lot easier.